All right, welcome to a special edition of the Thunk Tank. How are you Thunk Punks doing? We had Sarah Bean come on this week. She is a marketing expert, social media guru, and pretty much the concept for the episode was a conversation we had, which was the effects of the streaming culture on the monoculture, must-see TV, movie release, tune-in events, and how that's all been kind of segmented by this weird streaming age we're in. Kind of dove into where it was going, the looming subscription age of everyone having their own service. And so if you're interested in superheroes, craft beer, the Oscars nonsense, and a little bit of J.J. Abrams hate, I managed to sprinkle in there because, I mean, come on, that guy's asking for it. So give it a listen, let us know what you think, and thanks for checking out the Thunk Tank.
Attention humans, this is a Thunk Tank. Please insert this podcast directly into your nearest orifice for viewing pleasure.
Okay, you ready? Oh, shit.
Welcome to the Thunk Tank. Welcome to the Thunk Tank. Oh yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Welcome. Come into our Thunk Tank.
Luke, don't switch to the other peanuts.
Welcome to the Thunk Tank. Come in the tank. We're thinking, and we're drinking,
And we're thunked.
and we're thunked.
Oh my god, I'm probably more beer than man if we go far enough back at this point. I recommend burping into the mic, and when you pop the can, try to get that sound on the mic
Oh,
too.
I'm really in the pop zone over
You're the
here.
popper tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, you have all the beers. All right, so cheers. So I'm here tonight with Sarah.
Hello.
Hi, Sarah. She's a very interesting character, so we're going to have her come on the podcast.
That's a lot of pressure to just start off with right away.
That's sometimes I give like fake credentials or hyped up credentials for people.
Are
but
my real credentials like not good enough?
you
need to,
can.
like,
I
give
just didn't
some
want
hype
to.
credentials?
I just didn't want to speak for you, but you're sort of a social media expert, I would say, right? Not sort of. You are.
I'm so afraid of the term expert. Like, you know, I have run social media accounts.
There you go. Yeah, like official ones, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Not just a fan page.
I've never had a page be verified. That would be exciting. No,
Okay.
no blue checks in my career, but someday.
Yet.
Yeah. That's stretch goals.
So, yeah, let's talk about what beer we're drinking, and then get into talking about the internet.
So the reason I know you is because we work at the same brewery.
Right.
And we're drinking one of our beers, which seems fair.
Right. It's a good one to start with.
I actually really like this beer. This is like probably my favorite beer that we've made in a while. It's a strawberry wit beer, which is good because it's been a while since we've made a wit beer, which is good because so often we're asked what we have that's like a blue moon, and usually we don't have an answer for that question.
Although if you give them almost anything that with a European yeast, they're like, "Ooh, I like this too."
This is something that actually annoys me a lot. Is so often people think the Belgian blonde is a blue moon style.
Yeah.
and it's not at all.
I tend to give them that, and they're like, "Oh, this is great," and it's not at all. It's the same beer, but whatever. They like it.
It just always blows my mind.
Yeah. I like a good wit. Summertime. It's that time of year.
This is a very good summer beer.
All right. So, how are corporate interests ruining our multimedia world by trying to jump on this streaming train?
So is that really how you're going to introduce this?
Just gonna pivot in hard.
That's a hard pivot.
It's the Thunk Tank.
That's fair.
We got like 30 listeners.
I mean-
Just get right to it, you know?
Well, yeah. So I listened to like the breakdown of this a lot, but you're a Game of Thrones fan.
Yeah, we just released a whole episode on Game of Thrones. Like, share, and subscribe.
So like a lot of this conversation revolves around the fact that like Game of Thrones is like the end of the monoculture. It's kind of like the last sort of vestige of culture that like us as a populace are interested in.
The tune-in TV.
Right, like
we're-
event television.
Yeah, that's what they called it.
So yeah, so
it's been
like
so long.
the like last vestiges of event television are like the Super Bowl basically, and like that's it.
Award shows, which
Well,
I know you're a
that's
fan
not
of.
even because like with increasing like returns, like the awards show sort of viewership gets lower and lower. This year there was such a big problem with the whole like Kevin Hart of it all. He was hosting and then he wasn't hosting, and then there was this whole thing about how there wasn't going to be a host, and it's because viewership for the Oscars has gotten so low that there's like no positive to being the Oscars host. There's like almost only negatives.
Anyone big enough to get the gig, it's not worth doing.
Right, because
Like a
there's
no-name might do
there's
it.
almost like no winning with that.
Yeah.
Because like if you think about, I mean, like Ellen, there was criticism, just like the James Franco, Anne Hathaway like fiasco. There's like really no winning with hosting an event anymore. That used to be like
Yeah.
the peak of someone's career, and now it's just like a danger zone. Like
Well, that's-
nobody wants to touch it.
That's like they try to blame Michelle Wolf for ruining the White House Correspondents' Dinner, because this year they said we're not getting a comedian to like do a bit, but there also nobody from the White House is going either because nobody actually cares. So it's just a bunch of reporters getting together now, and there's none of that. Like it used to be both sides getting together, the reporters and the reportees, and like having a night where they rib each other. But it's just people are too sensitive now; they can't do that. But I don't know if it's really hurt. Like they say that she was like inflammatory or something, but she really wasn't that bad. I just think that after that, they probably couldn't find anyone good to do it.
Well, and part of the interesting thing about like even that conversation is like that's a woman in like talk, like she had a show there's like no late night talk shows anymore either, which is like an interesting, like the streaming has like completely ruined what used to be like a touchstone in television. Because when was the last time you watched a late night television show, like a segment, a whole episode, anywhere other than YouTube?
Like if I'm at the gym after work, after the bar closes and it's on, I might put my headphones in. But if the headphone jack on the treadmill's broken, I don't move to another treadmill. I'll watch it on YouTube on my phone later. Yeah.
It's just like I don't work in late night television, but like the construction of a late night television show has probably like moved completely into segmentization.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like these are literally going to be like YouTube chunks now, which is just like that's insane.
But I mean, the late shows, it was not a good time anyways. It was just dead air after the news. And they were like, well, we'll just give a comedian a studio, one of our empty studios, and let him smoke cigarettes and have a drink and just chat about the things of the day. So they kind of expect too much from that stuff. Like, should it really be an enshrined institution that should last hundreds of years? Or
But that's the thing. It was
Like,
like
it's part of a dead technology.
At one point, that was like the peak of a comedy career was to
Yeah.
get like a late show gig. And like, what even is that anymore? Is it to have a Netflix
I don't
special?
even know the comedians they get anymore.
Right. So like now is it to have a Netflix special? Is it to write a feature? Like who would you say is like the most famous comedian now?
I mean, numbers wise, it probably is Kevin Hart or like Russell Peters, one of the international guys.
So in that case, is it to like have a crazy weird like cinema?
Yeah, it seems like the only people, like the big names they get, they're forced to go on as part of a press tour. They know you're not going to watch, but when you see me talk about this dumb story from the Goonies or something, you'll be like, oh yeah, Avengers is coming out. And it's like, thanks, Josh Brolin. But he like had to do that. Nobody's like, oh, I got on the Tonight Show. It's like, oh, I have to go do the Tonight Show. I went on the Tonight Show once. I got to dance behind the band on stage.
You're like literally on the.
I was on the count. Yeah, I was in frame for a scene.
Was it Fallon?
It was Fallon.
Okay, I've been to a screening of the Fallon show,
Yeah.
like a taping, but
And
not-
it's weird, like, because we were in the audience for the first half of the show, and then we had to, like, 20 minutes into the show, we had to, 20 minutes, we had to go wait in a hallway to be part of that. But we got to see, like, the warm-up act, because they have a comedian come into the crowd, and they explain the rules, like, when you're supposed to clap and the cues. But it was really weird because did they do this for you? He has like some warm-up crowd work that references jokes later in Jimmy's monologue. So when he makes like a joke about cucumbers and like the tag really lands
Cucumber.
and he gets a big laugh, it's because the guy did a 15-minute bit about cucumbers up with us, with just the studio
genuinely
audience.
don't remember. It was like 2 or 3 years ago.
And I remember like the whole audience laughing at these jokes that were so obvious and not that funny, but it was a real laugh. It wasn't canned laugh. And it was because it was a callback. I remember that guy said that before. I was like, wow, is it really that easy to just
that
look
is
good?
kind of smart though.
Yeah, because that's why when he watches it and he gets a big laugh from like, an okay joke, like you're not laughing at home to the Tonight Show monologue.
But so like 5
So it's all
minutes
fake
ago.
anyways.
I mean, yeah, like 5 minutes ago, you mentioned the Avengers, which is like a big factor.
That's part of the monoculture, isn't
Right. Well, that's the thing. Is like maybe after Game of Thrones is like maybe the only other monoculture thing we have at this point, because especially like with this past weekend, I mean, it's going to be interesting how this moves because the X-Men are now X-Men are technically Marvel. Disney now owns X-Men, especially with the Dark Phoenix box office.
That looks
X-Men
so
is
shitty.
failing.
Yeah.
Like X-Men made $33 million at the box office, which is really bad.
Avengers made more than that in pre-sales. Right?
Literally, Avengers made more than that in like 4 hours.
Damn.
So it's just so it'll be like interesting now that because the only reason like people even go to the cinema anymore because of streaming culture is for the Avengers. Like movie stars used to be a thing. Movie stars don't exist anymore. Like you are sold on IP, like intellectual property. Like at this point, like does it even really matter who the Avengers are? Or are we going because it's the Avengers?
Yeah, I don't care who the next class of Avengers is. I'm still gonna watch it.
Right, exactly. So like there's a certain point where like
But is that just because, like, you talk about Game of Thrones and Avengers, that all started about 10 years ago. So really before streaming. I was torrenting things, of course, legally. Sure, why not? Probably not. But I was torrenting and, like, streaming stuff at home when people, like, I'd have my little netbook. Do you remember the little Samsung netbook things they had?
no, I come from an Apple family.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah,
Well,
just rich white people.
This is a Samsung house. But I had this little, like...
unfortunate.
It's not great. But I had this little, like, 8-inch netbook, and I got all of, like, Star Trek and a bunch of Simpsons, and I was watching it somewhere, and at, like, a park or something. Someone was like, wait, where's the DVD? Like, how are you doing that? And I was like, psh, that shit's old. Like, just you wait. And it did happen, and now it's all cloud-based. I thought we'd all have hard drives with all our favorite stuff on it, but we don't. We just stream off of a network. But
Do you not save your favorite stuff on a hard drive?
if I don't download stuff anymore because there's just so
fair.
much streaming stuff. It's like, oh, hey, but then every now and then when like they pull Avengers off of Netflix, I was like, I remember the good old days when you had it, you had it. Like, but
R.I.P. LimeWire.
oh, that was the shit. There, uTorrent was the best. Demonoid was a big one. I really like Demonoid.
I still got some spots. If I gotta really find something, I might do a download. I know some spots.
See, I just wait because there's so much other stuff that's free that I also want to watch. Like, I'm so backlogged.
So that's like part
I
of it, though.
stopped hoarding the streaming. Oh, but my question was, is it just because that stuff got started before the streaming took place, and now that we have that and we're so fractured in our interests, we'll never get that back? Or is it we've always only had the attention span for, like, a Game of Thrones, not 3 or 4? Like, Star Wars was what the early 80s was for nerds. Like, there wasn't...
Oh, I don't think that's true at all because, like, we're binge culture now. I think it's that nobody wants to leave their houses.
That's true. That is a growing trend.
Yeah, I mean, that's cinema box office. That's part of the reason it just keeps decreasing. So, like, for example, there's a movie coming out this weekend called Late Night. Are you familiar with this movie?
Late night, maybe.
So it's Mindy Kaling wrote it. I don't know if she directed it or not. Do you fact check this?
We'll do it in
Do you guys have a fact checker?
No. My
Mindy
phone's
Kaling-
dead, so no.
Mindy Kaling definitely wrote it. She's also in it. Emma Thompson is in it as well, and it's about like late night television. None of this really matters. I've seen it. Charming.
Yeah?
Got some problems. Not the
Worth
best
going to
movie
the
I've
cinema for?
Not exactly. I mean, there
People
are
only go to movies for the visual stuff now.
Right.
Like Avengers.
Right.
Disaster
So that's
films.
I mean, there's a whole other like we can talk about the Netflix adoption of the rom-com. We'll come back to that.
Right.
But so like part of that is that there's I mean, so like the thing about Late Night is Amazon Studios bought it at Sundance, which means that it will, no matter whether or not you see it in the theater, basically end up on the Amazon Prime streaming platform anyway. So at what point, like, why would you even go to the theater to see it?
I'm already paying for that monthly.
Right.
I'll get it. Yeah.
So it's just kind of this complex system that's developing where, like, it sort of happened a little bit this year where this conversation started where, like, Netflix is starting to pay for big movies because they want that award recognition because it sort of still matters. But at the same time, like, why would you go see a movie at theaters if you know it's going to end up on Netflix anyway? But in order to be considered for award contention, they do have to put it in some theaters, which is just, like, this whole complicated
Right, yeah.
sort of hierarchy of like recognition and value and.
But don't you? Yeah, but do you think that's really why they're? I mean, I'm sure that they're going to put it in a couple of theaters. You go through the trouble of making $100 million movie, like, pay a theater to show it just so you can enter it. But isn't it that they see what's happening? Like, Disney is going to start streaming. Like, they're going to lose all their Disney properties off of Netflix. CBS has the
they
same.
already have.
There's a few like some of the Avengers stuff is still on there,
Black
but like.
Panther and stuff.
And some of the kids stuff that's technically part of some Disney studio, like the ones Disney Plus launches, they're going to pull all of that off. And I think Netflix realized like we have to be a real content maker because like Disney,
Well, you
Fox,
have to think Netflix
CBS,
is sort of like the pioneer of that.
of the streaming.
Of like the content, we're like no longer
I'm
a
saying
content
these
database.
studios-
We're a developer.
But these studios like Sony and these companies that were developers are like now, we can just take over Netflix, move into Netflix domain rather than letting them middleman. And Netflix sees that, and so they think we have to move into their domain of if we're, you know what I mean? They have to pull a reverse move. We're already got the streaming down and the reach. We have to start making stuff or everyone's going to jump ship because we've all seen these internet platforms. We all remember Napster or MySpace. Like, people jump ship if something better or more easily comes along. No one uses the third or fourth best map, like navigation app. You're going to go with whatever's best for you.
Well, I think we've reached such a mainstay with Netflix that I don't think Netflix is at risk.
I don't really watch anything on Netflix anymore, though.
You don't think so?
I feel like I go to it and I go through my list and everything I don't want to watch, and then I go to Amazon or I go to
So if you were to
Hulu.
fire up, though, you would still go to Netflix first.
I
though.
start at Netflix, yeah.
Right.
But my cable box starts on used to start on a network. It starts at 2 or, you know what I mean? It starts on one of the major broadcast networks, and you don't stay on that.
So which streaming service do you think you get the greatest value out of now?
Lately, I don't know about overall because it's a very fluid thing, but lately I've been really digging Amazon. I'm a big fan of that Good Omens. I'm a Neil Gaiman fan.
I've actually heard very good things.
The book is really fun, and it was a very faithful adaptation that was still really good. And they've done like Man in the High Castle. It's one of my favorite obscure sci-fi writers from the 60s.
Oh, the other season's good. I liked the first season a lot.
I haven't even seen all that show, to be honest, but I just love the book so much, and I like how they did it. I always try to watch it like with my wife, and we have different schedules.
Yeah, I mean,
but
Amazon Prime's, but like that's
they have, but the way they like brought in people who made the content, you know, they're not, which is why Game of Thrones was good for the first 4 seasons, is because they were working with the source material.
So the shows,
guy.
they're sort of doing that, but in some of those cases, like a lot of those movies, they're just purchasing at festivals. Some of those movies that they
Right.
get, which like, did you watch The Big Sick last year?
No.
Okay, so like that's sort of one interesting concept is we were sort of in a culture where you couldn't get a rom-com made because it's the cost to get a rom-com made didn't have the box office returns, but in
Right.
this streaming culture you can kind of bank the expense on a rom-com because it's the movie that people will watch on like a Friday night where they're like, "Oh, we're home. Like let's just stay home and watch a movie." Which is why like there's rom-coms on Netflix and Amazon and Hulu now. Like Netflix seems to have a rom-com coming out like once a month now, which
Yeah.
is like before 2 or 3 years ago, like rom-com production was like basically at a standstill. And now in like the last 2 or 3 years, we've got like 3 that I feel like I listen to like a lot of pop culture, like media criticism and stuff. There's like 3 or 4 in the last like 4 years that people really love and like kind of got some attention and like were sort of part of the zeitgeist, and like that is a shift in culture as well.
But that's Netflix trying to be a studio.
Kind of, yeah.
Because they're like, oh, we need rom-coms, we need actions, we need they're doing terror and thriller stuff with the Sandra Bullock Blindfold movie.
So
that was a big hit.
Another interesting thing, though. So, like in the time that Birdcage came out, Netflix had a movie that was in contention to be like the best picture of the year, and they came out at almost the same time. And Netflix was the studio that funded that film, Roma, which is like truly a very beautiful Spanish language film that came out last year. That came out on Netflix perhaps a week or 2 before Birdcage. And if you went to Netflix's homepage at the same, like around that month, Birdcage was everywhere and Roma was nowhere, which is weird because like Netflix, so it's like they want to be both things at once. They like know we're there to be there on a Friday night when you like want to watch just like a weird thriller to like get your brain going, but they also want that award recognition, which is just kind of like a strange thing.
Well, that's the kind of weirdly fair thing about TV. It used to be like the good channels were the low ones, but because they got there first, back when you had to click through all the channels. But once you got a dial, like an actual keypad where you could just go to any of the 900 channels, it's kind of more fair because you flip through. Whereas Netflix, when the feed pops up with recommended, I assume that their algorithm, which is just a magic word for smart computer, the algorithm is actually finding stuff that I will like, not stuff that they want to push.
So you believe in the algorithm?
No, I'm saying I think people naturally do. And there's that trusting of, oh, this looks okay. Netflix is suggesting it, and I like stuff on Netflix. And then, but it just, I feel there's more, what do you call it? Like manufactured opinions where they'll convince you like, oh, this is trending. When it says like the trending list on Netflix, is like, is it trending because people are searching it or because you put it at the top of like the new, and then when it got onto the trending, you put it at the top of the trending? Like, I just wonder how much they manipulate into that. Because Amazon is really shitty for that. I have to say, I don't like the interface. Netflix definitely still has the best. Hulu crashes all the time for me, and I've heard a lot of people it does that.
Do you think that's not partially your software?
Maybe, but I keep updating it,
Okay.
and it's just I've always had trouble
Because
with
like
the
I
Hulus.
had a really shitty Roku for a long time, and I just switched to
Yeah.
like a Fire Stick, and it's been working way better.
Yeah, maybe I should just try a new hardware, but Amazon will mix in movies included in Prime and movies you can pay for, and movies if you have
Oh,
stars
I've
you
never
could sign in.
experienced that.
Like, oh, you have this is like you get to it on Amazon, you'll click on it and be like, oh, you need an HBO login for it, but we'll give you a free trial, and it's just trying to get you hooked on it, so then
Yeah.
you put the card in. But I just don't like how it's all mixed up like that.
Can you think of a show where like that sort of like algorithm suggestion has worked for you though, where like it's pushed something at you and you've tried it and you're glad that it worked?
Oh, I mean,
Because
Yeah.
I don't know that I have. I don't know that I like have ever like taken like a Netflix suggestion and been like, oh yeah, let's see what this is about.
yeah, usually if it suggests it, it's something I've already learned about independently.
Right.
And I'll be like, oh, that's on here now?
But at the same time, do you think that's because our devices are listening to us? Like
I
it
do.
knows?
I really do think they're listening. I think it's going to get, as AI gets better, it's just going to be like, like you're going to start getting hungry as your phone's telling you, like, here's a coupon for something to eat. Like, it's going to be so, like, tuned into us that it's just going to be how we operate. Like, oh, I'm going to leave the house. I better fire up my web or weave or whatever we call it, the iWeave. And it's just like, fits over your head.
I like as a Samsung household, you're calling it the iWeave.
Don't hate on my superior products. That is a
Your superior products,
it's a
but you're
strong
calling
Korean
it an
company
iWeave.
that pays a living wage. Okay, there's no one jumping off the Samsung factory
What?
windows.
Can we get a fact check on that living wage?
Well, living for over there, I guess, but I don't think they have the same suicide nets that Foxconn has in China.
I don't know anything about the suicide nets in the.
They do make shiny hardware. You're right. I am annoyed though because I thought the death of cable was going to be like a longer period of a golden age for us, and I wonder what you think of this. I think the golden age of streaming is kind of over. Like the Wild West days, if you could just like torrent a 10 gig file of your favorite show, like all 10 seasons, and get them in perfect 1080p
But to me, that's
and have it forever. Like that went away quickly. That was the Wild West days where you could just go find a river full
to
of
me
gold.
that's like no longer the streaming era. That's like the pirating era. Like I feel like this is a
that
new
was the
thing.
precursor to
Yeah.
the streaming era, and then the streaming became. They realized if we just provide it for them, they won't pirate it. If we just make it as easy as pirating, they'll sit through our ads, or if we just charge them and there's no ads, they'll pay it because in the moment it's the same. It's easier than pirating.
Yeah, and the pricing is like, oh, at this point it's like worth $3 for me to watch this movie on Amazon than to like find it and download it from a place that I know I'm not going to get a virus.
Right, kill
Yeah.
my computer with FrostWire or LimeWire, any of the wires. There's so many. They were all terrible.
Oh, so bad.
You thought you were downloading a movie, and then you didn't realize that after you clicked it, it was a .exe file. And you're like, what did I just install on the family computer? But so then the golden age of streaming came out, but I feel like they're figuring it out now, and now it's going to go into, you're going to have, if you want to watch Star Trek, you're going to need to pay CBS $8 a month. If you want to watch Avengers, you got to pay Disney $10 a month or $12 a month. If you want your Netflix, if you want to watch Friends over and over, you got to pay Netflix $12. And then you add it all up, it's like I'm paying more than I was for my cable bill, and I still have to go out and like work around these bullshit algorithms or try to seek out. It's that same problem. It's just like, it's too hard to decide what to eat at the buffet, so you just put everything on your plate. You don't remember what anything tasted like, and you feel sick. It's like I'd much rather just have to pick one.
It's going to be the only reason we maintain any relationships, because you're going to be like, you're going to know one person that's got Hulu, and you're going to know one person that's got Netflix, and you're going to know one person that's got HBO, and you're going to pay for the Amazon, and you're all going to trade.
And that'll be our collectivism, our digital kibbutz we build.
Yeah.
It's going to be streaming. That finally brings us together.
That's how my family works. Like, one of us pays for Spotify, one of us pays for Amazon, one of us pays for...
That makes sense, but they're planning on cracking down on that. Netflix just said something recently that they're going to make it that all 6 logins have to be from the same IP address. So you have to be living in the same house.
We'll see about that.
Yeah, the pushback was so big that they just stopped talking about it, but they're not going to give up on that idea. They're going to circle back around to it.
Definitely not saying I currently have an extra router attached to my current router that tells my router that I'm attached to my parents' IP address. So
yeah, I mean, VPNs, all that stuff is great, but
yeah, I mean, I guess it just depends if you're smart enough to figure all that out.
And most people won't be, which is what they're banking
right.
on. Which still makes it a golden age if you could be bothered to figure it out.
But I think a lot of these places will also just figure out if they charge $2 more a month for a family plan where you don't worry as much about those IP addresses, people will do it.
And they'll make
$2 more.
They'll make billions, yeah.
Right. Because that's like, I mean, I think Netflix and Spotify are already doing that. Because
yeah.
That's what we have, I think. So.
I don't know. I just see it. I see it segmenting. So, I think we might look back one day and be like, "Remember when you could just pay the cable company one price, and they had to negotiate with all these providers? Now I have to go and find a thing and this, and it's not working, or they tried to raise the price.
But then you can also maybe kind of do that like month to month, though. I mean, you still kind of have to like watch what you're paying for and when. But yeah, I mean, it is a la carte. You're bothered by that? Kind of, because I just see it as it's going to, I think ultimately when they try to sell you on, it'll be cheaper and you have more choice, you get the opposite. It ends up costing more than the last thing and you end up getting less choices. Have you ever actually paid for a cable bill, though? I feel like my parents' cable bill is so expensive.
It's crazy high. I did it when I first moved out of my parents' house like 10 years ago. We got, because it was cheap for the first year deal. It really wasn't. After 3 months, they spike it because they say they can. But it was like, $25 for each of the 3 things. It was like, well, internet's $60 and it's $75 and we get a landline, which was great. Why not?
I feel like at that point,
And
that's
cable.
like 10 different services. I don't know a single service that's more than $10.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah, but you're still paying for internet. That's the thing. I'm still paying my cable company way too much for shitty internet compared to what other, Ukrainian internet is 4 times faster than ours, and it's cheaper because the government, just when they installed the internet, said it had to be this fast, and they did it, but they didn't have that rules here, and so our internet is just shit, and they throttle speeds, and they could provide more, but they just don't. They'd have to invest in more cables and bullshit, and they don't do that. Like, we have some shitty internet quality in this country. Compared to, countries that you don't think of as beating us at stuff. Like, Ukraine got invaded by Russia.
Those are all hackers. I'm not surprised.
Pretty sure we could fight back against yeah, you got to give them the internet. They'll take it either way. But
how else is Trump going to win elections?
Yeah, that's true. Those troll farms.
They got to get that gigabyte.
That's another thing, too. Like, what happens if Russia hacks the Netflix algorithm and Chernobyl does, or the HBO algorithm and Chernobyl doesn't pop up?
That's fine. Everything is so dark right now. I haven't watched a single second of Chernobyl.
Yeah, it looks dark. Did you see Russia's making their own
Chernobyl?
They didn't like
just
it,
like from their viewpoint.
Yeah, because ours kind of points out how for like days when
is
it first
Putin
happened,
playing the main character?
I
just
hope
like
so.
shirtless,
just shirtless and just greased
like
up and glowing. Yeah, but it was like the government does what all governments do. They're like, no, it's not that bad. Don't worry. Trying to like downplay it, and then people's faces started melting off. Like, okay, we got to shut this down. And their version is blaming the CIA did it. They think we caused Chernobyl.
Do they also think the CIA caused the election?
Probably. I can't wait for that movie. The story of Donald.
Oy. It's rough. I haven't even watched like most of Handmaid's Tale. Like I don't.
It's too real.
It's bleak.
When life starts imitating the art that the art was trying to imitate, it gets too real, and you got to step back.
I'm just watching like shittier and shittier television, as if to like counter program the darkness of reality.
It's got to be weird for someone from another country that hasn't seen Handmaid's Tale, though, because you look at like the abortion clinic like protest, and there's a bunch of women dressed in those outfits, like mixed in with like people in tie-dyed shirts and stuff, and you're like, wait, what? Oh, there's Amish? Like, what's going on in that country again? It's got to be kind of confusing.
I watch like more and more less brain challenging television because I like need to. Like
Yeah.
I engage less and less with the news. Like, oh,
Checking out rom-coms, keeping it streaming.
look, they're good now. They're back. Rom-coms
Hey,
are back.
Why do you think Wizard of Oz was like best film of that year or whatever? Because it was in the 30s and shit was rough. I don't want to see a gritty film adaptation of Mice and Men and Grapes of Wrath. I could look outside to see the Dust Bowl. I want to see magic metal men and straw men singing and
It's a good
dancing,
point.
making me feel better. It's the escapism of it.
The most I bet you don't even know about this. The most recent Netflix rom-com release has like a 10-minute segment in the middle where Keanu Reeves just does a parody of himself.
That sounds amazing.
It's so good.
Can we talk about Keanu for a minute?
Absolutely.
So this is kind of our pop culture episode, and he's
Yeah.
really surged back in a
It's
way
the
that makes me happy.
Keanu-sance.
It is a Keanu-sance. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
fuck a McConaughey. It's the Keanu-sance.
Yeah, his revival is very short-lived.
I don't like
because it was
McConaughey.
nobody does. It was
I
just a
couldn't
reminder
be a
of his
bigger
gimmick.
McConaughey hater, but Keanu signed me up. My best friend from college last week was like, "Why do we care about Keanu again?" And I was like, "How dare you?" First of all,
First of all, yeah, some of us always cared. You guys are just coming back around to him.
no.
I've always been a big Keanu fan.
I'm glad that we have given him the due that he deserves. I saw John Wick 3 opening night. No regrets.
Still haven't seen it.
That's a crime.
What do you think about people? People keep making up stuff on the internet about him being like, "Oh, he's going to be the next Wolverine." No, he's
Would
not.
watch it.
Right? I don't think they'd pick him though. He's old.
Yeah, but so is Wolverine.
That's true. But they're like, he's going to be the next Wolverine. And then someone was like, oh, no, he's actually going to be Adam Warlock in the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie. So it's like, no, he's going to be one of the Eternals. He'll be a
Well,
young
that's the thing.
Odin in
So,
the
like,
Eternals. Like,
are
people
you,
are
like-
just getting out of control casting him for him.
Okay, but so like, is the Eternals thing not legit?
No, it is. I just don't know anything about it. We just don't have any details.
So does the Eternals, is that like a real Marvel thing?
Oh, yeah, it's a real comic. Like, they're...
Do you think it deserves like the series that...
I think they could do it really well. Like that's part of my favorite stuff in the early Marvel movies was like seeing Asgard and the mythology, like world building stuff, that like the retconning of their ancient world. Like every Thor movie opens up with them like fighting on some planet somewhere else.
So what's the elevator pitch on Eternals? Like,
They're like the first race. Like what's his name will probably end up being Jeff Goldblum's character.
so
The
at this
collector,
point,
like they've been around since before the universe was created. There was like a few hundred people hanging out, and they kind of have their own powers because they like predate the universe. So
is
that's why-
Goldblum signed on?
I don't know, but I just hope he shows up because he did a great job as the Grand Master, and the Grand Master is like a major character. Him,
So like at this point, it would be like Goldblum, Angelina Jolie, and Keanu.
I want Keanu to play a young Odin because Odin's pretty old. Like he's been around for a
I
while.
mean, I would
depending
fucking
on
see
the
that movie for sure.
Storyline,
Am I allowed
yeah.
to curse on this podcast?
Yeah. Like I said, we have 30 viewers. Fuck them or listeners.
Don't fuck you. You guys are great.
Yeah, oh yeah, like, share, subscribe. We love you guys. But yeah, you say whatever you want. Our sponsors are all Patreon. So,
Okay.
So whatever.
I mean, it sounds good. I would absolutely see that movie.
And I'm sure it'll be well done. Like Marvel has proven that studio can make an entertaining movie, even if it's.
So is it like a noir? Like, is it dark? Is it
You know, I have no
Fun.
I have no idea because Black Panther is like the comics. The first comics were kind of ridiculous, like the plunging V, like leopard print outfits, because it's like some racist cartoon from the '60s. A bunch of white guy comic book writers wrote it because they wanted to have a black superhero. Like they didn't really know what was going on. So like the comics, like the early Eternals are kind of hokey, but like the Thor comics were really hokey. In the original Thor, if he put the hammer down for 30 seconds, he turned into a regular guy forever until he picked up the hammer. So if you like threw the hammer at the moon and got hit in the head and the hammer landed on the moon, he just turned back into Donald Blake for the rest of his life. And that was it. He wasn't Thor. Like Thor was like, is a weird schizophrenic in the comics. And he didn't
He's
fly.
kind
He
of
could
heading
just
that
jump really
direction.
high. I know, right? I can't wait for Thor 4, which they announced.
I mean, this is also a different tangent, but like whoever fixed Thor like deserves a
It
medal.
was Taika Waititi. Taika Waititi.
Taika Waititi.
Taika Waititi. Well, how do you say it? I can't ever say it.
Taika Waititi.
He's great.
He's really good. But can we really say he fixed Thor?
I think so.
Did he write that movie?
I don't know, but like
See, like sometimes directors
lot
get
of-
credit for stuff that writers probably
there's
should.
a lot of improv, like and that's up to the director ultimately. If you have good actors, that's a big part. But it's up to the director whether to shut that down or to waste film, 'cause it's all digital,
Yeah.
but to burn film and filming hours.
Like I've
I want
literally
Chris
never
Hemsworth
seen
and
Thor
Tessa
2,
Thompson.
and I
to-
won't. But
It's rough. It's
I've heard
rough.
Men in Black International's not good.
I don't think it's good. They got the guy who wrote Transformers, the last Transformers movie, to write it, so I doubt it could be good. But I just want to see Chris Hemsworth
I'll probably see it.
and Tessa Thompson together again.
She's incredible.
She's great,
Ugh.
and I hope that they're together in Thor 4. But yeah, I think Eternals will be all right. There's a lot of things I want to see.
Wait,
Keanu
so
in,
they're
though.
doing a Thor 4. It's not going to be like a Thor Guardians.
I'm hoping he
crossover
shows up in
event.
Guardians 3, but I bet there'll be like a throwaway line. We dropped him off so and so. We'll
Which
pick
is
him up
supposed
later.
to come first?
I think Guardians 3, because he said he wants to take a break from acting to be with his kids or whatever.
Oh.
It's like, dude, we need Thor.
I know
movie.
this is a pop culture thing you care a lot about, but lots of people speculate on the success of his marriage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like lots of people think that divorce is on the horizon. None of my business.
Maybe that's
but
why he wants to take a year off to make that transition easier for the kids.
I
He
have
seems
no
like a great
idea.
guy.
Yeah, he does. He really does. But
It's probably hard to
that's complete speculation. There's no evidence whatsoever.
I like that, though. Keep that, stir that drama pot.
Oh, I've got tons. I could talk about pop culture drama all day. Do you feel confident about the future? Are you like an X-Men person at all?
Yeah. I was always a big fan of the comics. I remember when the first one came out in 99 or 2000, and we got the VHS. Me and my brother were in middle school, and we watched it over and over and over because there were no superhero movies. The only ones before that were Tim Burton's Batman and stuff, and those were ridiculous.
Consistently, I
The
hear
Joel
from
Schumacher
people
ones
that
were
like
horrible.
the love for the X-Men comics to like the success of the X-Men series is like the weirdest sort of disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
Like people who like really like there are lots of people who really really love the X-Men comic who are like these movies are garbage.
Yeah, that's kind of where I land these days.
Right. So like do you feel confident that Disney can and will fix that franchise?
Yes, absolutely. There's so he even admitted Stan Lee wrote X-Men as sort of like commentary on, I think it was like civil rights and like specifically gay rights, because like these people that like science is saying they're born differently, but society doesn't want to see it that way, and you know what they see as weaknesses or strengths, and there's like so lots of good like elements that you could still tell really well in like an updated way with new groups and other things. And I just felt like it was very ham-handed in the 20th Century Fox versions. And the way they tried to reboot the cast by coming up with a new cast because of time travel now was just like really badly done. Like, okay, I get it. It's McAvoy instead of Stewart now, but the really convoluted time travel movie didn't really like help with that. There was a better way to do it. They just suck at movies.
Do you have like a dream
superhero.
interpretation? Like would it be films?
Yeah.
Would it be like premiere television?
It would
like,
take place, first of all, it would take place in the 80s.
Okay.
Because like
I love a period
it's
drama.
ridiculous at this point that because Magneto, part of his whole story is he grew up as a child in the Holocaust. Like he's a Holocaust survivor. So where all of his anger and like hatred and never againism comes from is well founded, and he ends up always being right. Like I told you, the humans were bad. And it's like, well, is it his fault for pushing them to that point, or was he right that human nature they would turn on the other, the minority, or whatever? So there's, but the idea that he is still somehow like, so they had to kind of reboot it that way and go back to the 70s because like there's no way he's a Holocaust survivor still running around throwing jeeps and metal things and like in a muscly outfit. He'd be 100. So I think they should do it then, and I think they should do like the whole Sentinel thing right, like Genosha. Is supposed to be this like mutant like country of their own that like the rest of the world kind of invades, and then Asteroid M is a thing where Magneto like literally like rips a chunk off and or pulls an asteroid into orbit and builds a city in it and is just and steals a bunch of nuclear weapons, and he's like, fuck off humans, this is our country, you have yours. We got nukes though, don't fuck with us. And it's this like weird thing where he becomes kind of a dictator, like a despot. And there's lots of cool things. We have the technology to in CGI to do those stories now, and I think Disney could do it really well. But
So does it not concern you like how like squeaky clean Disney is? Because so like here's the thing, I've listened to like 4 or 5 different commentaries on Dark Phoenix this week, And sort of the underlying theme is that people say that like part of like a fundamentally misunderstood sort of aspect of the X-Men series is that it's like sort of like stoner punk rock Avengers. Like they're always just kind of like anti-establishment,
Yeah.
like fuck you guys, like
Always breaking the rules. Yeah.
but also just still kind of like chill about it. Like, yeah, like fuck you guys, like whatever. So like, do you think like literally not one of the Marvel people is allowed to like smoke a cigarette ever? Like, do you?
That stuff's weird. I've read some of those things that they make them do. Like you can't say inflammatory stuff. Like there's a reason you didn't hear Chris Evans or Robert Downey Jr. bashing Trump in the last election. They're not supposed to weigh in on that stuff. Like it's their wholesomeness clause or whatever. That's what you're talking about,
Right.
You can't be caught smoking by the paparazzi. You get like fined an actual dollar amount. Like it costs you money. Like you lose income. That stuff bothers me. But at the same time, like the bad guy in Avengers Endgame and Infinity War was a genocidal maniac who killed half of everybody. Even like that's still like at least they didn't shy away from that. Like sometimes,
The
so
hard
it gives
thing
me
is
hope.
like, but now they're in the Disney universe. Like Logan would never get made.
No, you're right.
It's insane that Logan got made in the first place.
Yeah.
It's time for more beer. What kind of beer do you want?
All right, beer roundup. Let's introduce the next beer. You pick. You choose. Just grab a can. You can't tell from there, right?
This is very aggressive.
Well, we can't have dead air.
All right, I've got the trophy one. It
All right.
it literally is what I picked. This is Trophy Partner. If you're familiar with Trophy, it's a brewery out of Raleigh that has a few beers of similar names like Trophy Partner and Trophy Husband and Trophy Wife. And it's June. So for June, they've made a beer called Trophy Partner.
Because it's the summer?
No.
Oh.
June is Pride Month.
Oh, okay. Some of our listeners might not know.
So for June, they've made a beer called Trophy Partner, something less heteronormative, and $1 of every one of these beers sold goes to the LGBT Center of Raleigh.
Nice. A specific local institution. That's
Yes.
pretty cool.
It's pretty good. I've had it before, but I hope you enjoy it as well.
Yeah. You want to rinse the glasses out?
Yeah, sure. I'm
right,
gonna
you
crack this in the.
you gotta
in
keep
the
talking, though,
microphone.
if I'm
No, I will. I'll vamp. So yeah, I worry about that, but I feel promising about the X-Men universe as well. I've heard kicked around a lot that I would really love for them to like really focus on like the academy, like the Mutant Academy. I don't actually know what it's called. I'm sure you do. The School for Mutants, whatever they call it. Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. I would love to see like a very like
It's Mutant High.
Okay, sorry. I would love to see like a prestige series.
That would be good.
Just
of
like-
the underclassmen running around, and you can have the teachers show up
just
here
like
and
a
there.
very well produced like high school mutant, could be gay, kind of sexy, kind of punk rock, kind of, but that's just like I like that. It could be really campy, it could be in the 80s, that would be fun.
and
I
if
just
you-
like
and if you-
that.
If you use the powers in the right way too, that would add to it instead of just being like a boring like freaks and geeks with superpowers.
Kind of,
yeah, that would
yeah.
be a lot of fun. I would be into that.
Just like it's got like the whole like period nostalgia, like sort
Mm-hmm.
of like Stranger Things, like we don't know what we're doing but we're still saving the world kind of.
But this is where Disney makes me nervous, like you said, because they do great work, but they also gave J.J. Abrams Star Wars, and he's totally ruined it. in my
You
opinion.
have so many J.J. Abrams feelings.
I hate J.J.
When are you just gonna do like a whole J.J. Abrams like bash cast?
I've ranted. This is like the third or fourth time he's come up, and I always end up, or Disney comes up, and
you
I
just
always,
steered it in that direction like you wanted.
I always want a chance.
Everybody
to bash
drink. You talked about J.J. Abrams. All
That's a good
30
rule.
of you.
Cheers. But like Star Wars was something I was really excited when Disney bought it because George Lucas had ruined it already with his prequels. Because he like when he stopped doing cocaine, he stopped being good at movies. Like I like his early work, but that happened to a lot of bands too. A lot of creators and makers in the 70s and 80s, they ran out of the go juice or they couldn't take it anymore, and and their work just went to shit. And like the prequels were terrible. So when Disney got it based on the Avengers and Marvel, I was like, oh great, they're gonna turn this into a machine and like refine it and figure out how to build the Star Wars universe into what like all of us as kids wanted out of it. Like when you watch the original trilogy, you wanted more. You wanted to see more of Hoth. You wanted to see more of this. Like, it was a glimpse into a universe you wanted more of. But Disney has so botched it that Star Wars fatigue is something I read about on the internet now, which never should have happened. Childhood Johnny would never have thought he'd get sick of Star Wars.
They're not going to
releases.
make another movie for like 3 years after the Christmas release.
And they shouldn't, because they rushed it.
I think that is kind of smart.
They rushed this whole trilogy, and they have other stuff to focus on, but they still did it, and it sucks. And I think it's gonna. Like, what's the next one going to be? They're getting rid of all Jedi and Sith, and they want to do their own, like, touchy-feely Force movie thing, I think.
I would love to see them do like a better history of the Jedi.
That would be good, like a Knights
Just
of the
because
Old
like
Republic.
that's kind of what like the prequel episodes like were supposed to be kind of, and then
They all were built off that, like, a throwaway line from A New Hope.
Just
when
like-
Kenobi says, I fought with your father in the Clone Wars. That sounded so cool to nerds in the 70s. They're like, what's the Clone Wars? That sounds awesome. Clones fighting with laser swords? And it wasn't well done.
and it was like weird and like politicky and just like it was a mess.
And Jar Jar Binks, like, either make him a Sith Lord or don't introduce him. The way he half-assed it, which I totally believe all those theories.
Although related, sort of unrelated, we've kind of talked about this. So the Disney park in like the sort of Star Wars part of the Disney park is supposed to, has it opened yet, or it's going to open soon?
I think it just did.
So I haven't seen anything about that in the news, but the Hagrid ride has apparently got like 8-hour lines already.
Wow.
Like fully like an 8-hour
In Harry
line.
Potter world.
Yeah.
Harry Potter was a big part of the monoculture.
Yeah, but it's
Do you don't think there'll be another kids book like that in the next 20, 30 years?
I
something
just don't
like
know
that?
how. Like what's that's the thing. It's just like that's the thing. All of these people are in a race to create content to get people to pay for their service. That I think it's going to be so hard to find something that everybody gets into again.
Just the it's not as big of a.
Do you know of a property that exists? Because let's be honest, original material doesn't exist anymore. Do you know of a property that exists that you believe could drive that kind of attention? That isn't already, sort of?
But those things just happen. Like J.K. Rowling didn't plan it. She just wrote a kids book. And
Right.
they wrote another one, and then they wrote an American version, and it took off. Like it just.
But that
it
was
just
a
happened.
completely different time still, though.
Yeah.
Well, we're all driven in so many different directions.
But that's not
now.
something. That summer, no one could have predicted. Oh, this new lady out of Edinburgh wrote this book. It's going to be she's going to be richer than the Queen.
But
Like, you wouldn't have
content
seen
creation was still in like a different place then.
that. Yeah, but I don't know. I just feel like some good things can still catch on. I mean, it helps if you're like a Disney.
When is the last time something like that caught on besides Game of Thrones?
Well, if you're an HBO or a Disney, you could throw the advertising money behind something. But if you don't need to,
I don't think that works anymore, though.
I mean, it kind of did with Avengers. Like they spent hundreds of millions of dollars advertising it. And
Avengers been 10 years in the making at least.
yeah, but you know that they're making 2-3 movies every year because they tell you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. They're good movies, but if they weren't constantly reinforcing you, hey, we have a new superhero movie coming out, I don't know if it would have kept the traction it got early on.
But it's still something that like it's not new.
The scary answer, I think, is that it's going to be whatever Disney picks. Like, they'll pick something to be the next, like, big monoculture thing. Or HBO's
But
going
they
to try to
tried
make
that. It's
another
Star
Game of-
Wars, and there's already fatigue.
But like HBO, they had The Sopranos was this kind of thing that people tuned in. Like people bought HBO just to watch the next season
But The
of
Sopranos haven't been on in a decade.
But I'm saying they did it with Sopranos. Then they turned around and said, "All right, these nerds want to do it with this fantasy series. Let's do it." And they did it with Game of Thrones. So they can just turn around and find another. There's a book I think would make a great Game of Thrones type thing that no one's heard about before, but. Honestly, like, did you ever hear about Game of Thrones before the show came out? Like, it was
No.
it's in the small world of fantasy nerds.
Right, but that was
You ever
still-
hear of Robert Jordan either? They've been talking about his series for years turning into.
No.
This is a 14-book epic. It's like, oh my God, like 30,000 pages overall. I read them, and I'm very angry with him, too. He died before he finished it, and the guy who finished it did okay, but it kind of
But
sucked
the
and
point that I'm
underwhelmed.
trying to make is it's still been 8 years since Game of Thrones started. And the streaming has completely changed since then.
Yeah.
I think that we're driven in so many different directions right now that it would be so hard to get something. They're spending so much on that Tolkien adaptation for Amazon. Have you heard about this?
That's the biography thing?
No. They're making like a Lord of the Rings series for Amazon. They've put so much
Oh,
money
is this the
into it.
Silmarillion?
I have no idea what it is because I don't care. But
Ouch.
but Amazon is putting so much money into like a Lord of the Rings series in the hopes that it'll drive in the same way that Game of Thrones
and
does.
I think because we're moving into this, let's call it the subscription age or subscription era. Like as we move into that, they're gonna have these big ticket things that they throw all their eggs into that basket. And if one of them lands, it could be the next thing, the next Game of Thrones.
But it could also
Game of Thrones
only make $33 million like
right.
Dark
You're
Phoenix.
right. But they make that, they do that on purpose. Like Avengers paid for all the movies that Disney financed that didn't make money in the last however many years, plus more. So it's like venture capitalists. Like I give a little bit of money to all these startups, and one of them is going to end up being sold for 1,000 times what it was worth. They kind of do the same scattershotty thing with their content, but I think we might get an initial wave of new stuff. But then you're right, or you might be right, as they chop up the audience into all the different streaming markets, it maybe just will never form back together again. It'll stay segmented.
I just don't believe that the way that we view stuff now, I don't believe that anything can capture attention in the same way that...
What did you think about 3D TVs when they came out?
No.
Okay, good. They stopped making them like years ago.
No.
Do you remember when your friend had that and tried to get you to come over?
I've literally never watched a 3D TV.
I went over. This guy tried to get me to. He's like, "Come over, man. We'll watch. It's awesome." And it gave me such a headache in like 4 minutes. And I was like, "Can we just watch it regularly?" He goes, "No, it's only 3D." I was like, "Really?"
I'll purposefully avoid a 3D movie as well.
Yeah, you don't like any of those?
No.
How do you feel about drive-in theaters? I think those should come back.
I would like that.
Because that's kind of the middle ground between not wanting to leave my house and going somewhere.
I'm like a horny person, though.
Well, besides that, besides the date night aspect of it, of like, it's easier to make a move because I'm in a car, not in a room with a bunch of other people.
It just feels like a sensual experience to me.
But I feel like that could easily come back.
Yeah, sure.
You don't think so?
I mean, no, I think people will just watch at home. They're like, why would I pay $10 to watch this in my car in the heat of summer when I could watch it on my couch in my air conditioning?
That's fair.
That's the main problem. Why would you go
it's
to
so
anywhere?
hard to compete with that couch.
Why would you go anywhere and watch anything when you can watch it at home in 6 months, maybe?
I'm paying for my couch every month just by paying for where I live and paying for my air. Like I want it to be cool when I get home, my AC's on. So it's gotta be a compelling thing to get me out of the house to pay more to do what I could do there.
That's the whole problem.
That is.
It's literally the root of this problem.
But we've all sat on the couch so long where even if it's a great show you're binging, you just can't.
You're wrong.
No?
They just switch shows.
That's true. Switch it up. That's too much funny. Let's watch something sad, or too much sad.
Yeah.
Go to scary.
That's part of the reason that like you've never heard of half of the movies on the Oscar, because on like the Oscars telecast is because they're like intense dialogue heavy movies where like the entire media experience now is what's easy that I can watch on my television while I also scroll Instagram on my phone.
I do like Amazon because it has a lot of old movies. I think out of a lot of the streaming things, it has the most old stuff. And it is amazing how slow movies and...
I think this might be a you thing.
No. Oh, watching that stuff?
Yeah, I think this might be a thing like you enjoy.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's for old people who have just figured out their kids our age showed them how Amazon worked, and they're like, I could watch Spartacus again, and it's like I'm not gonna lie, I watched Ben-Hur on something recently, and that movie's like 4 hours long.
How old are you?
We'll be 30 this year.
Okay, I don't know a lot of like 20 somethings who like are like, oh, I can't wait to watch Ben-Hur on this Friday
amazing,
night.
though. It had like 10 Academy Awards. It was like
It's tied for the most Academy Awards with Titanic and Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
But nobody got close to, nobody tied that record for like 30 something years. Like it really is an amazing film.
It makes me really mad that Lord of the Rings, Return of the King is there.
It was great. It was a well done adaptation. And the Academy did that to them on purpose. They're like, we're not giving you awards every other year for these
it makes
visually
me mad
stunning
that
films.
The franchise that got all the awards is Lord of the Rings.
So, but they should have spread it out over the 3 movies. They just dumped them all on the 3rd one. Because Two Towers was a great film. It should have gotten more recognition than...
It's annoying that like no other franchise is like ever going to get that kind of recognition. Like just
Again.
because of like...
Well, Lord of the Rings earned it, but...
We get it. Helm's Deep. Fine. Whatever.
Hey, they shot 3 movies in a year and a half, and all 3 were bangers. So
Great.
I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here and defend Lord of the Rings.
Love a
'Cause I don't
talking
need
tree.
They're Ents, okay? Big difference. All my Ents out there, you know who I'm talking to. Light up, have fun. Anyways,
Fuck them.
but like Ben-Hur
Fuck
moves.
those
The point
trees.
is Ben-Hur moves so slow. Like movies back then just moved
Just like Lord of the Rings, Return of the King.
so.
There's like 20 minutes of Helm's
I was
Deep, and the
watching-
rest is like trees.
Yeah, great film. Helm's Deep was great. Those trees were awesome. When they start smashing the guys outside of Helm's Deep, even better.
So we're back to Helm's Deep. Just make the movie of Helm's Deep.
I would have watched that. Yeah,
Right, that's what it is. That's all it is.
that's fine. I liked the original Lord of the Rings, the one from the 70s, which also moved way too slow because it ended with Helm's Deep instead of where it should have. All right, well, besides you being wrong about that, there's another black and white movie I watched
Have you ever
where-
told anyone on this podcast they're wrong?
all the time.
Okay, good.
Clearly you don't listen.
Glad it's not just me.
Yeah, no, it's mostly what
I've
we do.
listened to some.
Wow, we just basically hate on each other.
They're really long. Do you want me to listen to all of them? I don't have 6 weeks.
They are pretty long. They're for background. You're right. We should probably have shorter snippets because of the culture.
No, live your passion. As long as it's not Lord of the Rings.
Honestly, it is, but yeah, I just don't have the energy to edit.
Do you
into
like this beer?
segments. I really do.
Me too.
It's an IPA. Mm-hmm. It's nice
I agree.
and very very colorful.
Yeah, that's how gay things
It's
work.
got the rainbow heart on it. And I like the trophy logo as a rainbow. It just looks
Me
good.
too. You notice how I diffused that situation?
What?
You notice how I diffused all that Lord of the Rings tension?
Oh, it's still there. It's just below the surface.
Oh, okay.
But there's some other movie I was watching where it was like this town, like
some
the rich
other
guy.
movie.
in-
Tell me more details.
the rich guy. It's an old black and white, but the rich guy in town wanted this woman dead and was like, if the town kills her, like if she ends up dead, everyone in the town will get $1 million. And it's this depressed little town, and they were all like, well, so just one person has to do it, and they're a hero for the whole town. They get into real like moral like hazardous things, but it's so fucking slow. I was like, this is an interesting movie. You could never do it now though, because there just wasn't enough action
Is this
or
still
hype.
Ben-Hur?
All right, we can talk about your modern stuff. Oh, your newfangled streaming services.
I just wish you knew the name of this film. It sounds wild.
It was really good. I don't remember. But
Listeners, let us know what movie he's talking about.
but why are there no new movies? Why is it all sequels and remakes? What happened? Is it
Because
just safe?
how are you going to get people out if it's not something they already know?
It's the couch thing. I can watch. But if I could watch Ghostbusters on my couch, why am I going to go to the theater to watch a redo of Ghostbusters? I'll just wait for the original.
They didn't. That's part of the problem.
Yeah, I guess. But then why redo something if it's been done? Like, why would I go out of my... Because I already know I like it.
Well, what's something that's being redone that's been successful?
Toy Story 4.
They're not redoing it, though. They're continuing it.
It's a redo of the last 3 movies, I'm sure. Let me guess. They start off okay, they lose something, and then they have to struggle to get it back without people finding out their toys that can
That's
talk.
a vast generalization. That's like 50% of all stories.
But that's also every Toy Story.
Okay. Yeah, but they're not redoing
They
something.
meet some
They're
new friends.
adding
They
to
think
it's
they're not
still a
friends. They
sequel.
end
It's
up
not
being
a
friends.
It's not a reboot. It's a sequel. It's like another part of the chapter. It's not...
Yeah.
They're not like making a shot-for-shot remake.
Yeah, but I mean, Revenge of the Nerds 3 and 4 were sequels. They were still terrible, just
I haven't
rehashing.
seen a single Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh, well,
Well, then that's
some
a good
good 20th
point.
century films
That's
out.
a good point, though. Like, what is one remake that's been successful? I don't think there is one.
Men in Black. Lord of the Rings, that was not the first time they tried to make a movie out of it.
I can't believe you brought Lord of the Rings.
Of course,
Just trying to get away from this.
you can't escape. It has too many Oscars.
I just like, do you think we'll live long enough to see the Harry Potter remakes?
Oh man, I think if anything, they'll do an animated version in like 50 years or something. That's
You know what, though? That Spider-Man animated movie's pretty
I
good.
still haven't seen that one. There's just so much to wait through. I'll probably see the new Spider-Man
Frustrating
before I see
doing this
that one.
movie conversation with you, who's never seen a single movie besides Ben-Hur. and Lord of the Rings.
And Lord of the
Return
Rings. I
King.
had to bring that up. And Avengers. No, I don't get to movies nearly as much as I used to. I used to watch a lot when I was younger. but
Yep,
I
too
work-
busy sitting on your couch
You're right.
watching movies at home.
Yeah, it's too easy. Why would I go?
part of the problem. It's the whole
But
problem.
isn't it part of it? I mean, you go to movies a lot, so maybe you don't feel it. But when I don't go to a movie for a while and then I'm sitting there and the lights go off, I have this like crazy thought at some point every film. I go, hope no one comes in and shoots me.
Oh, absolutely.
That's just something you can't help.
I carry a
but
taser.
You can't. That'll help. The guy in the Joker mask with an automatic weapon is zap zap. That's gonna stop him from the
see-
10th row up.
I don't see those big blockbuster movies though. So you're trying to get, massive most shooting. I don't want to have this conversation.
Yeah, it's probably for the best. But like I went to a movie recently with a friend who doesn't go to movies, and he got really stoned, and he doesn't smoke ever. And he said, he's like, and after he hit his little pen a bunch of times, I was like, "Are you ready?" And he was like, "I've never actually been to the movie theater high before." I was like, "Oh, this is going to be interesting."
Oh, I actually think that's like a more common movie experience than people let on these days.
Oh, yeah, no, it's great. You should try it. But I'm just saying he had never done it before, and then he decided to do it for the first time with me, and he was very jumpy. He's a jumpy guy to begin with.
What movie were you seeing?
Avengers Endgame for the second
Oh,
time.
jumpy.
Yeah. But he was jumpy, and like there was like a humming sound in the next room, and it sounded like a popcorn machine or some bullshit like vacuum cleaner. He's just like, "What's that noise? What's that sound? What's that noise?" And I was like, part of it was like I think he was just stoned and scared.
Why did you do like a paranoid stone person? Like, why did you?
That's what he was being. That's what he was freaking out. He's like, "What is that?"
It's not the type of stoned moviegoer you want to be.
No. Well, I'm not. I'm chill when I go.
No, I figure, but you chose to go to the movies with this person who's. What is the protocol for having to pee during?
You
the
just
podcast?
go. I can pause it. You want
up
to
to
pause?
you.
Let's pause. Okay, pardon that hiccup. We got our next beer, though. This is from another North Carolina brewery that I love, and I've been to both locations. They're wonderful. You should go. Fonta Flora out in Morganton.
Oh, I didn't realize that was a Fonta Flora. It's
yeah.
like different from their usual can
Yeah.
flow.
And and that's because they have very distinctive, beautiful can art, in my opinion. But this is
I agree.
Yeah, this is their Southern Saison with black tea, lemon zest, and lemon juice.
Oh, I think I've had it. It's good.
Damn it! I keep picking beers you've had already.
No, it's just because I was there like the other weekend.
Oh, great! At the farm location.
Yeah, Whippoorwill.
Yeah, they got some money together because their pub was successful. So instead of buying more tanks or like getting a warehouse space, they bought an actual dairy farm, like defunct dairy farm, and they're like trying to bring it back and not to make dairy, but to plant stuff and grow ingredients. And they donated a bunch to like a state park.
Conversation
abuts
for a
right
different
against
day,
it.
but I'm like so intrigued by all these like taproom models, like the way that like this indicates success as opposed to like how Ballast Point's model is just like down the tubes. It's just like
You can jump into beer at any point in this podcast. It's the
I'm just so intrigued by that model, the way that works, the way that like the fight for shelf space happens,
But
and just the way like different breweries approach that.
because I was going to say we work for a brewery that doesn't even participate in that fight. Like we just we
Right.
focus
And
on
like people look at us like we're crazy for that a lot. Like when I tell people about that model, I get a lot of weird looks, but based on the way things are going, probably it's smart.
right. I think it's the hyper local movement.
Yeah, I mean
like-
we want to be more of a location than a
That it's something and you see in the grocery
than a
store.
product. We want to
Yeah.
be like a spot more than like a
It's
product.
an experience, not
Right.
not a drink in a can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I agree. I think that's where it's moving.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, well, we agree. Good, fine.
Fine. Phew. Good to be not in like a Lord of the Rings moment.
Yeah, good. We can maybe move past you being wrong about
What
that.
do you think an Ent's favorite beer is?
They actually drink something called Entwash, and you're
Oh
going to
my
regret asking.
Fucking God.
And it's basically like water but better.
I'm gonna make
Got electrolytes,
I'm gonna make
which is what
snoozing
crops
noises
and trees
again.
create.
Snoring noises.
Now they probably like something.
What do you think a Hobbit's favorite beer is?
I imagine like English ales,
Okay.
like bitters,
Like
and
an
milds.
ESB?
and-
Oh,
yeah, that
yeah.
seems like a very hobbity drink. Like they can't have that big of a kettle. They're tiny people, so I can't imagine they're brewing very high alcohol beers. You know, how long does a keg last for them? Really, a while, I bet.
Oh, I bet it doesn't. I bet it goes fast.
Because a pint of beer to them is like a stein, like one of the
no, but they
liter-sized
eat like
steins.
12 times a day.
Yeah, but is it that much food compared to us?
Yeah, probably.
Probably they eat a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be more interested. In
I
like,
think a Hobbit would drink you under the table.
maybe it depends on the Hobbit. I think.
They got a lot of hair on those toes.
Well, we only just got into this episode. You don't know how hairy my toes are yet.
Wouldn't it be funny if like the only place on your body you had no hair was your toes?
I don't on the bottom. The bottoms are
so
hairless.
weird. The bottom of my feet.
Just it's like a bath mat, right?
Just like, whew, you wouldn't even believe it. It's just lush curls.
Okay.
Okay. Can't wait for this transition.
We'll pivot. We'll keep pivoting. So
Do you like the beer?
Twitter, yeah, I do actually. The black tea is definitely there. You can taste it, but that lemon zest juice counters it nicely. It's not. I thought it was going to be like Earl Grey up in my face, but it's really not.
I like an Earl Grey.
I do too, but sometimes when they put it in beer, it can be like a slap in the mouth.
It does still have like the real, like you don't get like a traditional Saison a lot these days. There's not a lot of people who are like executing like a traditional Saison well. A lot of them are going in that mixed culture direction just because sours are so popular.
But I love that. That's part of the going to a destination thing.
Right.
Like, how do you make your beer here? And some of my favorite breweries like that, I was at Fontaflora for a workshop, and they showed us, like, they were making a kvass beer, and they let us break the bread up. And I was just talking to the brewer and on the brew deck, and I was like, "Oh, is this your sheet?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "What do you mash in at?" And he just told me all these stats that you like shouldn't tell somebody. It's the rest. It's like a chef telling you his recipe to his award-winning dish, but like they made it with the bread from the bakery in town. Like I can't reproduce that in my city where my brewery is. And so it's that idea. It's like, yeah, you can't copy this, and if you did, it would be different anyways. It wouldn't be like they're not going to go there and come here the same day to get it.
On a similar note, I had a beer at Trophy last weekend that was a style I'd literally never heard of. That was like specifically like a smoked malt. I'm trying to remember what it was called.
Rausch beer.
Close.
Can I just say that I love North Carolina beer, and I'm going to greatly miss it.
Is there a butt? Sounds like there's a butt coming.
No, but I'm excited for West Coast beer because, you know, it's their own beer culture and regional blah, blah, blah. But and like North Carolina on the East Coast, I think is doing some of the best. There's pockets in Carolina doing some really exciting, innovative beer stuff. And it's partly because it's so cheap here. People come here from other areas, so you get like a good aggregate. But like, I'm really gonna miss that.
Well, that's a good endorsement as well because I feel like we're often underestimated on that front.
All the time. In 20 years, it's gonna be different.
Like when I tell people about like White Lab setting up their like East Coast headquarters here in North Carolina, sometimes they're like, "Why?" I'm like, "Well, because we're like sort of like a beer mecca." Like North
yeah,
Carolina.
Sierra Nevada got it. New Belgium got it. Like some people just get it.
It's a Grotzer.
Oh, I had that too, I think, when I was
Yeah.
there.
It's just, it was a style, you know, people in my family or people that know me, like, sometimes are like, oh, yeah, she's a beer person. So naturally, someone at the table was like, what is this? And I was like, I have no idea. And it's a smoked wheat malt. So it really just does taste like a grill.
That sounds great, though. It sounds like a
very
toasted
smoky.
bun.
Yeah, it's tastes exactly like something you should be like braising bratwurst.
But I mean,
in.
all malt used to be smoked.
I guess, yeah.
At one point, it was all.
This beer just tastes like smoked meats.
That sounds amazing.
You specifically believe that, yeah?
But I mean, tastes change too. Like sour beer was a big thing for hundreds of years, and then in the 20th century, no one wanted sour stuff because we got good at preserving food. It didn't have to be sour anymore. And now we're going back to that. Like the hop IPA craze, I think, is kind of over, and people are the sour craze, barrel conditioned stuff is what's taking off. Oh Jesus, Saison's repeating on me. But
You just burped through that like entire monologue.
it was tough. And now
That's
as soon as I
some
run
real
out
Rick
of
and Morty shit. The only other property I dislike more than Lord of the Rings.
oh, you should see the crossover. It's gonna be great. We're actually big fans of both of those.
I can't
on
like
this
if I
show.
was in Capital Punishment, they would be like, "Here's an episode of Rick and Morty about Lord of the Rings," and I'd
You
be
get
like,
to-
"Just kill me
You
now!
get to watch it on a couch with Peter
Just
Jackson
kill me now!"
and Christopher Tolkien.
And Matthew McConaughey is also in it.
He's the projectionist, and he's going to let you know his comments from the booth.
Do you know that Matthew McConaughey like got his Hollywood? Oh no, Guy Fieri got his Hollywood star
that name?
recently. Guy Fieri.
I love that you say it correctly.
You're welcome.
That's great.
Guy Fieri got his Hollywood star recently. You know who was there to present him like with his like award speech? It was fucking Matthew McConaughey.
Really? He probably requested that. You know, you have to pay to get your square.
They're like friends, and I'm like, of course you are.
Of course they are. But you know that, right? Like, you pay to get your Hollywood square.
Would you not? I
star.
would.
I would. Like, you have to get approved. If I just went to them and was like, can I get one for 50 grand? They'd be like, no, we don't know who you are. But if you're famous, you literally just have to go and pay for it to get one. It's like getting your name on a bench at the local park by donating to the town. Like, you just have to do it. If you live there, you just do it. So,
I just dislike both of them so much, doesn't even matter. But anyway.
So I would feel bad if we didn't talk about social media at all, because you're the social media expert in my life.
Okay.
I know you're not comfortable with that title, but
I did walk you through hashtags sometimes.
you did. You have. You've helped any success that the social media for this podcast has had. You've contributed.
I don't know that that's true. Your brother does some stuff.
He does most of it, but that's why I said you contributed to it.
That's fair.
I didn't give you all the credit.
No, I don't deserve
But
all the
he's not
credit.
good at it, and the other guy is not good at it either. He posts these really long blog posts that no one clicks on, and then my brother just kind of jokes around and doesn't
Sorry,
really
guys.
push
I know
our
you're
content.
both listening.
I hope they're listening. They should be. I have to listen to the shitty episodes they do without me.
Oh boy.
But what are we doing wrong, basically?
Sometimes there's weird replies on your Twitter to you're just engaging with weird tweets that aren't part of your brand.
So focus on the brand.
You're just replying to weird polls and stuff.
That's my brother.
Just you should run a personal account for that kind of stuff.
I think he forgets to sign out of the Thunk Tanks.
Yeah, you should be more cognizant of that kind of stuff.
That could tank your brand, because that makes that your new brand, right?
It's just, it doesn't make any sense. It's it deters me from following you because it looks like a mistake. It's just a mistake. Don't do that.
Okay.
I mean, there's...
What else? Gordon Ramsay us. Come into our kitchen, tell us what we're doing wrong. Should I pull up our Twitter page? Would that help?
No, not necessarily. The hard thing is it's just there is a certain degree of smart moves there where you're trying to engage with stuff that are similar to the topics that you guys are talking about, which is a smart move, engaging in those conversations. But in a way, it's a complicated thing because I'm not sure that Twitter is the best platform to be promoting this kind of thing anyway.
Right? I always thought it was weird. Twitter is such a short, quick burst thing, and these are hour to 2 hour podcasts.
In a weird way, kind of the most successful way to sort of engage a podcast audience right now is Facebook groups.
Ooh.
Facebook groups are as much as Facebook is an old people platform, Facebook groups are having a real resurgence because it's sort of the new chat room. It's sort of the new way to develop and create an engaged community. I'm involved in Facebook groups with podcasts that I don't even listen to anymore, but I'm still involved in the Facebook group because I find out stuff there and I engage in conversations with. I have a podcast that doesn't even exist anymore. The podcast network defunct it, and the Facebook group still exists, and it's just a place that the community just engages one another about what the song of the summer is and shows that are happening, and just here is our conversation thread about the Tonys, stuff like that.
I guess that's part of the problem with Twitters and stuff is there's a lot of fake accounts on there.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is you guys could just set up a Facebook group specifically for your Patreon. It's just kind of here is our thread about this week's episode. What are your thoughts?
But what happens if those people get together and start talking and realize they don't need us?
What do you mean? Why would they realize they don't need you? They're already way more engaged. I mean, everyone's insecure. That's a different thing. You could start a conversation in your Facebook group, your Thunk Tank Facebook group, about insecurity. What? They've already paid to be part of your supporting audience. It just creates a place for them to engage. By creating a space where they have conversation, you're already engaging them more than you were before.
More value than they were getting.
Right. So here's the thing. You're already talking at them. Give them a space where they can talk back to you.
All right. I think we're going to do that. You hear that, Thunkers? You can thank Sarah for the toxic chat rooms we're going to create.
Is that a toxic chat room?
I'm just projecting where it's going to go.
But also, it's a great phrase for you to be what do you want us to talk about? What's a concept that might be good? What do you like? What don't you like? And they're already engaged, and you can make it private. It's a place for you to monitor who's coming, who's going. It's
kick someone out if they're rabble-rousing.
Right.
In a non-constructive way.
Right.
This is actually not a bad idea. I haven't personally used Facebook in 4 or 5 years, but I assume the other guys have one.
Right. I just think it's a good it's the new chat room. It's a place to connect with and monitor your community. And like you wouldn't believe like there's like there's a huge Facebook group for like just bartenders in Winston where we like talk about where ALE is and like
that is those are the beer cops, basically, people listening from other states. But
and
it
just
is
like
good.
where you've kicked people out and like who to look out for.
I generally shit on Facebook as a parasitic waste of time, but that group is actually functional because you'll see at 9 o'clock, hey, this guy dressed like this, we kicked out because he got violent and tried to punch one of the bouncers. It's great. If that guy in the orange jacket tries to walk into my bar, I know he's trouble. I don't have to wait and find out. Like, it is good for little things like that.
And like shows like The Bachelor, there are Facebook
I was
groups.
waiting for you to bring up The Bachelor.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't even watch it.
I know, but you're a fan.
But I literally listen to a podcast twice a week that's about The Bachelor. I don't even watch the show.
Right. That's what I was waiting for. This is a podcast.
But like there are literally Facebook groups dedicated to The Bachelor that have like thousands and thousands of people on them where they just like talk like it's like a new like it's similar to it's Reddit but it's more approachable. Just like these kind of conversations that are happening where I feel like Reddit has a certain amount of approachability. Like Reddit is cutting a lot of people out.
It's very exclusionary in its
Just
formatting, yeah.
Because the user experience on Reddit is so bad, it cuts a lot of people out.
It's intentional, yeah.
Right, but this Facebook group is kind of building the same thing where it's like these conversations and these groups are happening. So, I mean, maybe you're more of a Reddit crowd, but it's just kind of the similar thing where like build a place where you're just like Instagram is visual, Twitter it's quippier. It's just a better place. What you want to do is you're building a community. You're building a community of listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like where how did these people like find each other? These listeners like talk about what they thought about the episodes and
You think they should be shorter episodes?
frankly, that just depends on your that's a question for your audience.
Because I think it's because all of us thunkers, we listen to 1-2-3 hour long podcasts.
If that's your
ourselves.
audience, you shouldn't change it.
I mean, I don't know if it's our audience, but that's what we like, so that's just what we're doing.
That's your audience. Ask your audience then. That's a great question
two
for your
guys
audience.
really are the two people that actually like give us real feedback. We have listeners and people that contribute regularly, and we get like regular downloads, not a lot, but like regular downloads, and we get tracked to what like countries and states. And there are
Doesn't
people
matter
that listen
how many
regularly,
people there are, but just
they
ask them what they think.
yeah, or what they thunk.
Perfect. Sorry.
Got to stay branded, right? Isn't
Yes,
that a big part of it?
absolutely. Yes,
Yeah,
stay
okay.
branded.
Okay, I got that part.
Make some stickers.
Ooh, we should. But what are we going to put them on?
Whatever you want.
We take pictures and post those.
Yeah.
Okay, send them to people. We
Maybe
should have
magnets. I know you're in the magnet business.
I'm a big fan of magnets. Oh, they don't even know. I haven't even told any of these magnet stories. On
Really?
The podcast. Yeah, yeah. I got a case of like a few hundred magnets with these dog heads on them, like pictures of real dogs looking happy and smiling. They're like 3 inches across, maybe 5 inches across. They're small.
They're like a 2x3. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just my neighbor covered my truck in them, and I drove it to work. And you took a bunch. And
And I've been
disseminated
putting them on other people's cars.
and that's great. And they've been spreading. I've seen them around town, like in the wild.
Oh, really? You've seen
Oh,
them
yeah,
on
yeah.
like strangers' cars?
Yeah, or cars. I've thrown them on cars in the parking lot at
You're
the
going to
brewery.
be the new put the cone back sticker.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to do. Yeah, and I'm about to order a bunch more of my dogs, and maybe we'll have a contest giveaway for some listeners.
That'd be
I think
sick.
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Of these adorable dog magnets, and they're great because you throw them on someone's car, and then if you can be around when they find it, the reaction is the same every time, and it's amazing. At first, it's a disbelief, like what is that, and then an outrage that somebody touched my car and put a sticker on it, and then they try to peel it off, and they realize it's a magnet that left no permanent mark, and they usually take it off, look at it, and then shrug and put it right back on.
I mean, especially if it's just a dog.
Because it's just a dog. Like, it's not making a political statement. You're not like, you're not committing to anything with it on your car.
At this point, I've put
just a
almost
friendly
30
dog.
on one person's car,
That's
and
great.
she's loving it.
Is her car still covered in them?
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
She's mad that there's not more of them.
That's great. That makes me so happy.
I don't know what I'm going to do when you don't live here anymore.
I'll give you the website. You can get more.
Okay. I don't
You might
know.
want to get some with the brewery's name on it.
I'm not doing that.
No.
No. I mean, I would love to, but I'm not paying for that.
Well, that's the thing. Get someone else to pay for it. You got a case of free magnets now.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll send me some samples.
But it is fun. I'll throw them on cars that get left overnight outside the bar, and then I'll see them around town later. And it's like they had that moment where they found it, realized, and left. One was a really nice, like a brand new Audi.
I would prefer if we would just put stickers on those cars.
I would too, because then they got to peel them, and they deserve it. But I just have a bunch of magnets.
That's true.
Free magnets. But like I put it on this Audi under the bumper, so you have to like get down to see it. And they haven't come back, but I assume it's still there.
Absolutely.
All right.
Any other further social media advice?
I wish I knew what to ask here because, yes, a lot. We definitely try to post on Instagram, but I feel like it's mostly just Luke posting Treehouse beers from Treehouse Brewery up in Massachusetts. And like I feel like it should be more thunky things that we do. But
yeah, I mean, it would be cool if there were like more pictures of you like recording or like who the guest is going to be.
Should we take a selfie?
I mean, if you want to, sure.
I really don't.
Then that's fine. See, but like the thing is, you don't actually want to do it. You just,
I just want to hang out and talk to interesting people.
That's fine. I mean, you
Drink
can
beer.
do that too.
Okay. Let's keep
Listener
doing
base
that.
isn't necessarily going to grow that.
That's all right. I really don't care that much.
Yeah.
As long as I'm having fun, it's worth it, is how I've always seen the podcast.
I wish Snapchat would die. That's my greatest wish.
I think I could agree with that. We don't even have one.
We don't need one. There's no real business needs a Snapchat.
I mean, the podcast, what if you run like a cam service from your dorm?
Then maybe.
Snapchat Premium. I feel like you make a lot on that. That's a thing, right? Isn't that a thing that like the self-made cam model things are doing?
I probably.
Isn't that a big? Isn't that just?
To be perfectly honest, I'm not super involved in the cam model industry.
I'm pretty sure that I have no evidence for this. I'm not either, but I'm pretty sure Snapchat's whole business model is like boobies. Like 15 seconds of
That's
boobies. Send
certainly
me money for
the
a live
rumor.
feed, right?
I mean, there's some of that on Twitter, sure, yeah.
But it seems to be exclusively Snapchat is that, and then teenagers trying to hide messages from their parents.
And that certainly is like an old person take on the platform, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm coming from. I had Snapchat for like 2 months.
I mean, I still have mine, but yeah, it's more of just like a personal messaging system that I have with my friends. But I don't see a lot of value in it. I think if it died, I wouldn't be that sad.
Is there any social media that's really good for meeting new people? Or is that the same story I hear from people? Like, I use Instagram because like that's how I keep track of my favorite brands. Or I keep Facebook because like me and my friends from college have a group on there. Or a
I
group
certainly
chat.
have a few people from Twitter that are like just sort of friends because we just like found each other's Twitters and we thought each other were funny. Truly, this weekend, I had a very weird experience where a girl that we follow each other on Twitter simply because we like thought each other was funny is actually dating a girl I went to high school with. Which I discovered on Instagram this weekend. I was like, this girl from high school is making out with this person who looks familiar. Oh, it's because I follow her on Twitter.
That's weird.
Yeah, we were just like, we've become like Twitter friends. And she's actually dating someone I went to high school with. So like I had this weird conversation with this girl from high school. I was like, is your person that you're maybe dating following me because she knows I know you? And she was like, oh no, this is so weird. She just like follows you because she thinks you're funny. And it was just like a weird, and like I have a few people that are just like strangers.
You don't think that girl started following you so that the girl from your high school could stalk you and see what you were up
No,
to?
literally, she had no idea. I was like, that girl you're making out with on that Instagram you just posted. We follow each other on Twitter. That's do I know her? Like, she didn't also go to high school with us, did she? Like, do I know this
Just
person?
forgetting. Oops.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried for a second. But yeah, it's just like there, and like there's like sort of in LGBT culture there is sort of a weird like Instagram sliding into DMs situation.
I've heard that phrase.
Where like Instagram is like almost its own dating platform. I have for one have never experienced it. I think it's like a bigger thing in like bigger cities, but just like yeah, like hot people on Instagram like sliding into each
because
other's
you can just
DMs.
post what your deal is, and then they come to you. I
Well,
guess,
yeah,
kind
and
of a
it's
thing.
just sort of become like a hot people, like it's acceptable to just like post hot pictures of yourself on Instagram all the time.
I know that's what mine is.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, like Instagram in its own right has become like a weird like, hey, you look hot, like what you doing this weekend, sort of. Not for me.
No, tell me more about your hookup page, please.
I don't have a hookup page. Dad, Mom, nobody. You definitely don't.
Yeah, I don't think they're listening to the Thunk Tank.
You never know. I might send this to them.
Yeah, I
They
hope
might
you
think
do.
this
Like,
is
share,
cool.
and subscribe, guys. Hey, I hope you like it. Please consider joining us on Patreon.
I don't
Click
think
the
my
link
mom
below.
knows what a podcast is, but Lewis might. Dad might.
Tell him to check us out. I'll have him come on too.
What
He
up,
sounds
Lewis?
interesting.
Oh, you would love my dad.
Tell him to come on. We'll Skype him in.
I'm trying to think about like what my dad would talk about. Maybe just like my dad has a restraining order from Steve Jobs, so
We could talk about that. You've already heard my opinions on Apple. I got strong opinions, so
he would love to talk about it.
that would be great. And we did a whole episode we did a 2-parter on Elon Musk, so I know I could get along with him on that. He's
He
a
would
big.
listen to
He
that
owns a
episode.
Tesla, right?
He does.
You should send him.
My
that
dad has
episode.
owned 2 Teslas at one point in
Well,
his
yeah,
life.
we did one on Elon and we did one on SpaceX.
He washes his Model 3 with filtered water. So
That's a very Tesla owner
that's a
thing.
genuine laugh. that
All right,
you just-
yeah, that's great. That sounds like what a nerdy
genuine
Tesla owner
filtered
would
water.
do. Yeah, I would have him on, sure. But all right, I
That's
think
your
we're
movie.
gonna wrap it up.
Okay.
Because we're at enough. Is there anything we didn't cover you wanted to cover?
That's how most of my relationships end. They're like, we're at enough.
Aw, and on a downer. No, is there anything we didn't get to, or that you wanted to get to, or that we started and you wanted to finish? Wanted to get back to? touch
Mostly
on?
just that the Lord of the Rings is bad.
All right, I'm gonna let that one go because you're the guest. So we'll let you get that in. We'll probably have to have you come back on so Joe and Luke can argue why you're wrong about that.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
It's gonna
just
be
like
great.
the full Labriola force of.
Oh yeah, it's something to behold. All right, well, thanks for coming, Sarah.
All right. Thank you so much for having me so I could talk about how Lord of the Rings is bad.
I mean, we covered other stuff, but yeah.
I can't wait. No, what
It's the
Lord of the
main
Rings is bad?
takeaway.
Fucking end.
All right, I'm hanging up on her. We're
Bye.
done. Bye.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening to the Thunk Tank podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to help us out, please consider leaving a rating or a review wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with people you think might like it. And if you really want to support us, you can go over to patreon.com/ThunkTankPodcast. We have links to this in the episode description and other places. And for as little as $1 an episode, you can help us keep the lights on. And you also get access to a very special Drunk Tank feed of episodes. So every few episodes, we'll have a few more beers and record an extra 20 to 30 minutes of extra thunky, silly whateverness. So there's a separate RSS link you can get from there, and if you put that into a podcast player, you'll get your own separate feed of only the Drunk Tanks. I think we have about 6 or 7 of them out already, and more to come. Thanks for listening, and stay funky.